Good afternoon and welcome to our today's live workshop. And my name is Sebastian K. Matthew, and here we have with us.
I'm Fessy. So before moving any further, we have got very good news to share with you all. So
What's the first news for us?
definitely I've got very interesting and a very complete informative information to share with you all. AJINORAH is now officially the sending organization for TITP of NSDC to Japan. So this is a golden opportunity for all the youngsters who are aspiring to work in Japan. So guys, make use of this wonderful opportunity that is right before you. For more details, you may contact AJINORAH.
Yeah, actually it has a history that goes back to 2022 when Prime Minister Modi and the Japanese Prime Minister, they held hands together for the new project where Indian skilled workers are allowed to work in the Japan for the coming couple of decades. So which is a good news for all of us, and we have become the official partner with the NSTL so that our candidates and the people who are aspiring to go to Japan with their specified skills can find their opportunities in Japan as well.
Yes.
And we have one more good news, which is regarding the recent OIT results. So how was our results these days?
It was excellent, and congratulations to all the students and the trainers who worked hard to achieve this outstanding result.
Yeah, we have received more than 100 results this time, and which is a really good proportion of winning rate. So we congratulate all the trainers and all the students who worked real hard and achieved this tremendous success with their successful attempts and the dedication. So we congratulate all of you again. Okay, so let's directly head to our topic today. So the topic of today's live workshop is applying the right logic for OIT reading.
Yes.
So shall we start with the slide?
Yes, definitely. Before moving to the exact topic, we have to have certain idea regarding what this module is. As you all know that OIT has 4 modules: listening, reading, speaking and writing, in which you have the module of reading. You must know what this module is when you do. And reading has got 3 parts: part A, part B and part C. Part A is known as expeditious reading task, which means very efficiently and quickly you will have to find your answers. In 15 minutes time you will have to answer 20 questions, and there are certain types of it to answer this, and you must know what the question pattern is. Then only you may able to answer it properly using given the time limit. You must know the first, in part A, as I said earlier, in 15 minutes you will have to answer 20 questions. The 20 questions are not very similar. There are certain types. The 1 to 7 is matching, which means you will be given with 7 information, and you will have to find out which paragraph contains the information in 1 to 7. So you may write it in letter using sometimes more than 1 letter can be used here. You will be writing A, B, C, D, like that. And when you move on to the second part, that is short answers. In short answer, the question is 8 to 14 must be short answer, and here you will have questions like open-ended or more closed kind of questions. Like question starts with what, when, which, where, how, like that. Very direct questions will be asked here. And another type of question is sentence completion, that is 15 to 20. So in this you will be getting full sentence in it, but 30% of data will be missing in it, which you have to find out from your all 4 paragraph. This 4 paragraph will be detailed detailed description of a particular topic. If it is wet sword, then first you will be having the definition and the other main basic detail of it. And when you move on to part B, you will be having the signs and symptoms. Part C will be the treatment or medication, and part D will be regarding the research about the probability. So all 20 questions will be related to this 4 paragraph only. So part A, I think most of the students find it easy to answer. Sometimes they find it trickiest, and there will be certain pictorial diagram you can find out, and there will be some numerical forms. You should not miss anything from it. There can sometimes they can ask question related to that as well. So from the beginning to end in part A, every detail is very important here, right sir?
Yeah, but just that they have to fight against the time, because
Yeah.
they have barely 15 minutes of time within which they have to complete all the questions in part A.
Yes, exactly. When we move on to part B and C, after completion of part A for 15 minutes, your question booklet and the answer booklet is collected. Then you are given with B and C together for 45 minutes time. So all together it comes 60 minutes. And when you arrive, your part B and C together known as careful reading task. So careful reading task, from this you all will get an idea about what this is. And part A, sometimes it is easy to get answer using the keywords, or when you go through it, definitely you will get the answer when you read it for 1 to 2 times or 3 times. But part B and C requires little more effort. You will have to put lot more concentration to get the right answer, to find the right answer, and you will have to manage your time efficiently. And in part B, you will be having more details of workplace communication, such as guidelines, emails, or policy documents. Sometimes we get, when we work in board, we get data regarding any new updation, sometimes waste management. Most of the time we get details regarding this kind of updations or new guidelines that we supposed to change, or we have to make it in practice in the ward. So it will be very short, but in part B here you have 6 extract of it. The details will be given, the situation is well explained. Sometimes you get the proper topic of it, and you have to read the description. Then you have the question, and it will be given with 3 options. So from which you will have to find out the right option, and you have to shade the circle which you find appropriately. You cannot shade more than one answer. It should be correctly shaded, because it is computer analyzed, so you can't do that. And in each text contains 100 to 140 words, which will be very short. Multiple choice question will be given in part B. And in part C also, it is a longer passage of a particular detail. Sometimes it may not be completely related to medical disease or procedure. Sometimes it kind of a research material can be. Most of the time we see research material there. It contains 2 articles that are about 800 words long. To test, this is to test your reading skills, whether you are able to find the right answer, whether you are able to manage the time efficiently. So this is the main purpose of reading, right sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we think about the 3 parts, it is really important for us to understand what skills are being tested. Though we understand that OIT is a language test, more than language we need certain other skills as well, which is our cognitive skills, which is about how well we are focused on one thing.
Yes.
So sometimes it can be seen that some students may bypass this skill for the sake of language alone, thinking that it is actually their language that is responsible for their lower scores, but it couldn't be the case actually. It is because if they cannot focus on one thing for more than 20 minutes, if they cannot keep their attention onto the given topic for than a period of time, then it can actually affect their scores in a commendable way. And also the another aspect of the skill side of OIT reading is with the comprehension skills.
Exactly.
Yeah, we understand a lot of things that comes in a reading section, and the words has to be identified and they have to be added to the existing knowledge of a student in the correct way. So which is what we mean by comprehension. And if I find any kind of issue with this kind of comprehension skills, that can also badly affect our scores for OIT reading and equally for OIT listening as well. So it is really important that we identify these skills, and we have to identify where we are standing about these skills and do specific activities that are being provided by our trainers to you, like our podcast sessions, and we have grid span graph session and more activities coming. And these activities are actually intended to improve these particular skills, So you won't find it difficult to stay focused. You won't find it difficult to understand what is meant by the text, and besides the language skills as well. So I hope the students are enjoying the new grammar session that is being introduced as GMP. So the issues with the language and the grammatical issues might be rectified with the section, and the rest of the part, which is the comprehension and the cognition skills, will be improved with the given activities as well.
Okay,
Right.
definitely they will find it useful, because
Yeah.
many think like though we believe like OET does not require much of grammatical things, with the simple sentence also they can manage. For an extent it is okay to write that way, but you should know, when you know the grammatical forms, definitely it in turns helps you to do reading and other modules also. It will be easy for them to crack. And in between you used a word skills. Definitely listening and reading is a skill, doing that. And sometimes as we have seen some students, they may not be very good at in their language, they may not be confident enough to speak, but they will be getting good score for listening and reading. So I believe this is a skill that
Yes,
you have to
actually.
develop with practice. Though daily practice is required, but it when you practice n number of material and you don't find any improvement there, you find difficult, when you during the test it will be like a lack of confidence, you will be having confused state of mind. Whatever answer you do, though it is answer, but you will not able to correct it, you will not able to get the right answer. So this session is all about how to find answers logically and how to improve your scores, so that it definitely helps all the students from level freshers to exam batch students can make use of this session. Please watch us attentively.
Yes. Okay, so let's head right to the topic that we have promised you, which is the types of logic that we apply in OET reading. So do we have the slide already? Yes, it is
Yes.
applying the right logic for reading. So we need to understand what makes an answer right in OET reading. Can you please, okay, what do you think, what makes an answer right in OET reading?
What makes the answer right is when we look for the answer, it should be sometimes given directly or indirectly. We have to find out. Sometimes guesswork also needed, and so that makes the student very tricky. The answer they may not able to find it, so they have to use certain tips and tricks to it. Then some are very good at it. They understand whether it is yes or false, or true or false, or sometimes to find the vocabulary. Some understand the question type easily, so they get the answers. But if we do not understand, if we are just beating around the bush, we will not get the right answer.
So what could be the feature between a right answer and wrong answer? So what makes a particular answer the right one? Among, we have 3 or 4 options, and one of them becomes the right one. It actually happens when the answer is taken out with a valid logic from the given
Yes.
question, right?
Yeah.
So if the logic is valid, if we understand that a right logic, I mean it is logically takeable out of the given text, then we can say that an answer can be right or wrong.
Yes.
So it's all about logic. Actually it is all about logic, and we need to understand what logic is. So let's go and understand what logic is according to some definitions. Okay, so what is logic for us? So let's answer the reason. So what is it?
Even in real life also we say that use your logic here, use your
Yes.
logic here.
Yes.
So we are this is a kind of very familiar word to us, but we don't know when we use reading, when we have to use this in reading. So it's a reasoning conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity.
Yes, this term is really important. This term validity is an important term, because we can say something is valid or not. Just like that, we say 2 plus 2 is 4, that's valid. But if you say 2 plus 2 is 5, it cannot be valid in this case. So because the second one is not logically deduced, which means that the statement has no logic. So it is a human ability to understand things in a reasonable way, which is true in its objective sense. So this is what we mean by logic. So now we have to be able to identify the kinds of logic that we apply in our daily lives and the same things that we do in OIT reading as well. So
That's what we say experience.
yeah, maybe experience in a daily life. Actually, we make use of these kind of logics a lot. So we will see what kind of logics we have. Okay, the first
The
one.
first one is types of logical reasoning, in
Yes.
which we have deductive logic, which indicates necessity. So there are two statements in
Yes.
which definitely after reading this all will understand. I'll read out for you. Statement 1 is all the students in OET pre-exam batch are nurses.
Yes.
When we move on to statement 2, Ashwati is a student in OET pre-exam batch. So first statement states that OET pre-exam students are nurses, and second statement is one of the students belong to OET pre-exam is a nurse. So we can deduct that she is a nurse.
Absolutely. I mean, this deduction is absolutely logical because it is necessary. It is absolutely a must case that there cannot be any other case other than Ashwati being a non-nurse. So because it is already given in the text that every single student in the OET pre-exam batch must be for necessarily a nurse. So the second statement says that she is a student in OET pre-exam batch, so that necessitates that Ashwati must be a nurse. So this is very simple to deduce, right?
Yes.
Just like anything that we do in our life, just like 2 plus 2 is 4. It's just like that.
Yes.
We use this kind of logic a lot in our daily life. Just like you might have read something on newspaper and you take the same evidence to identify something to be true or false. And there are many other instances when you use this logic, just like all animals are mammals, and elephant is an animal, so elephant must be a mammal.
Yes.
So I don't know if how factual these things can be, but at least for the premises we can find that when we deduce things out of these common sense things, it can be said to be deductive logic. We apply this a lot in our daily lives. I don't know how to say any further about this, right?
That's what, as you said earlier, cognitive and comprehension is very required in this role, OET reading, and this you consider as just as an example, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is just to make you understand. We have put this, and when we move further,
Yes, we have the next kind of logical reasoning. This is also one kind that we use a lot, but we may not be always aware of its use while we attend an OET reading session, which is inductive logic. Okay, so let us identify what is inductive logic is. So in the earlier case, which is in the case of deductive logic, it was a case of necessity. It was a must thing. It was 100% certain that the answer was true. But in the case of inductive logic, the thing is not true or false, but it is just that it indicates probability. So what is probability?
Yes.
What do you mean by probability?
to an extent, it is a possibility.
Possibility.
It shows the possibility.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's a chance of something to happen, right?
Really, exactly.
So it's just a chance. Like you could say that it can rain. When I say that it can rain today, it is not going to be that certain that it is actually happening, but there's a probability, right?
There should be some signs. There should be
Yes.
like weather change. Then you can assume that the probability is likely to rain.
Yeah, this is why most of the predictions cannot always be right, because
Yeah.
we used to say, we had our sources earlier with our limited capabilities, and they used to forecast climate and weather like it's going to be raining afternoon, but sometimes it may not happen. But what we have to assume from that was it was possible, it was probable that it could rain, but with some parameters changing, maybe because of the pace of wind changing or other parameters, things can change and it may not rain. So we
Yeah.
cannot say that the idea that they deduced or idea that they inferred from the given parameters that it can rain today and it didn't happen, it is not because they were wrong, but they used the right logic, but it is only probable. So sometimes it can be right or wrong, but it's not completely a 100% surety, but it is only a probable thing. So here we have a really good example for this.
I'll read out. Anne Marie is a nurse. And the options are: option A, she must be preparing for OET. B, she must be preparing for PSC. C option, she must be preparing for MBBS.
Yes. So in this case, can we be ever certain about any of the options to be true? Because we have three options, which the first one is she must be preparing for OET, PSC or MBBS. We are not sure.
There are some chances.
There are chances, yeah. I mean, there are so many nurses who are trying to become government nurses through writing PSC, or you can also sit for PSC exams for getting into the government offices, right? And you also can prepare for MBBS. It's a possibility, but the probability, that's a different thing. Like, what is the chance of, I mean, how many of you nurses would be going for this, the other two? It is more probable that you might be preparing for OET, right?
Yes.
So this is the highest probability. So it is just like, it is not certain. You cannot tell ever that all nurses will be preparing for OET, because there are multiple numbers of the total students watching this right now, not preparing for OET or not even planning to prepare for OET. So okay, please ask your friends to join as soon as possible, because we don't have much time left. Okay, so I suggest you to ask your friends as well to join for OET. Okay, so that's not the point here. So let's get back, which is, it is only a probable case that many of the nurses must be preparing for OET. So Anne-Marie also must be preparing for OET. So that's only probable, but we have to identify which of these could be most probable. So this is where we apply our inductive logic and be very confidently identify one answer. So which one would you suggest for this answer? So how many of you answer this question to be A? How many of you think it's an A? Yeah, most of us, right? Yeah, it must be A, because we see less probability for the other two options. So we could say that we can logically infer, we can apply our inductive logic and infer that the first answer, the first option must be,
she must be preparing for OET.
Many
try for it.
But in this case, we know that Anne-Marie just being a nurse does not necessitate that she is preparing for OET. But in our text, what can happen in OET reading, what can happen is that there can be more than one piece of information other than just Anne-Marie being a nurse, because there can be more than one information, which is Anne-Marie is a nurse and she's preparing for some test.
Some test.
You might know Anne-Marie is a nurse and she is preparing for some test. Okay, the probability for this getting OET is getting higher, and she is planning to go abroad. Okay, now we know that, okay, applying our practical sense and experience, we know that if she is planning to go abroad, out of the given three options, it must be more probable that,
just assume that this is your paragraph,
right? Exactly.
Then you will get the right answer. Otherwise you will think that simply we put the example. It's just not. When you get the details in your paragraph, you must assume like how it can be connected with it. And every time you will not get answer just by reading the entire paragraph. You will have to read the question first, then go to the option, then the paragraph, and you will have to complete it in 2 minutes or 3 minutes time taking. Like you will have to have multiple reading, then only you will able to do it. And here it is saying that inductive logic, it indicates the probability. And when you have the details in the paragraph and go to the option which might go with the paragraph, you have to look for it, then you will be able to find the correct answer using your logic.
And you must have noticed that in this kind of questions, you don't get an answer right away. You simply guess. You just make the best guess and you consider that to be the answer, because there is no other way other than guessing. So OET reading requires you to be guessing as well. So this can be a major issue. Many students lose a lot of time in their OET reading because they get in the trouble of reading and they look for evidences. Though they think that this is more probable, but they don't have a clear evidence.
Many do it wrong way, that starting from beginning to end word, they will read by word to word. Don't do that. You're wasting your time there.
And they won't find an evidence. I mean, even if the probability is higher for one option, I mean, it is very unlikely that you will find an evidence for the same. See, in our case, we are not saying that there is no any clear option given, no clear text given there that she is preparing for OET. It's just that she is preparing for some test, she is planning to go abroad and she's a nurse, so it is more probable. So there is no given evidence, you cannot find evidence for the answer in all questions in inductive logical questions, so you have to be prepared to be guessing. So guessing can be underrated, but we have to do it by practice over and over, and when you practice your guessing, and eventually you will practice more and more, and your confidence for guessing will improve over time. So we have to be confident enough to guess with the best understanding with the text, and then make better guesses every single time. So okay, now let us try to apply the kind of
understand the question type.
Yes.
In deductive logic and OET reading, there are two types of questions type. The first one is direct or literal question, will make you understand what this is, and another type of form is the lexical questions. Definitely when we explain, you must be very much familiar about with these questions, but you must have not come across these words in reading. So once after when you practice, you have to use these methods. For the beginning you might find it difficulty, but when you practice it with this for multiple time, definitely this will be in your mind. This will definitely help you during your test and to improve your score.
Yes. Okay, first of all, let's see what little questions are, right?
Here we have an example. Shall I read it?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So the sun is the star at the center of our solar system. It is a massive ball of hot glowing gases primarily composed of hydrogen and helium. The sun provides heat and light to the planets in our solar system, including Earth. Its energy is generated through nuclear fusion, where hydrogen atoms combine to form helium, releasing a tremendous amount of energy in the process. This is just a brief explanation, or briefly it is mentioned. This is how your paragraph B extract looks like. Now let's see the question. We already mentioned it is kind of literal. We are going to make you understand what the literal question indicates. So here is the question: what is the primarily composition of the sun? And here the question, we can see it is asked very directly, what is the primary composition of the sun? So when we look on to the paragraph, it is very clear what will be, but still we'll look at the possible answer choice. First one is oxygen and nitrogen, second hydrogen and helium, third one is carbon and oxygen, and the fourth one nitrogen and helium, from which you definitely understand what this is. But for you, I'll just read out. In the second line, it's given primarily composed of hydrogen and helium.
I'm so sure that everybody must have got this answer, right?
Definitely. And the one more thing is that we don't find other components in the same paragraph, so there is nothing to confuse you guys. The answers is given very directly. Sometimes when we write about disease details, when we get topics of disease or the topics which we are more familiar with, there will be chances of getting direct questions, and the answers will be given very directly. So at least though we say OET reading is tricky, but sometimes they make it easy by giving the direct answers too.
But yeah, this is only an example for you, but it is very unlikely that you can get a question just like this, right? Because they never ask you a question this straight, but it is only an example to understand what a literal question is. But OET has their own ways of asking this kind of question with a little paraphrasing. We have an example here. Okay, can you please go through it?
Yes, the manual informs us that the blood pressure monitor, there is no particular question in it.
I think most of you students must have gone through this text already, but because it is from the orientation batch, you must have read it, and it's from fractures. So you might remember this. So let's look into it again. Okay. So
when you read the paragraph, look on to the topic or the heading what is being given. This is an instruction manual of digital automatic blood pressure monitor, electromagnetic compatibility. So here are the details. Hardly you find 80 to 140 words in it. and here you can see the options A, and in part B and C you are more likely to see longer sentence here. Sometimes students will get confused and they take more time to understand. Just understand the difference in the options. That's the best you can do when you do your reading. And option A is likely to interfere with operation of other medical equipment. Option B may not work correctly in close proximity to some other devices. Option C should be considered safe to use in all hospital environments. So how we can come to the answer?
Yeah, this is quite a literal question here. It is very obvious that this is a literal question. Just with the last part of the question, you can see that there is given like the manual informs us that the blood pressure monitor. So it is going to talk about something very specifically about blood pressure monitor, and it seems to be directly something about what this thing is. So what we have to expect is paraphrasing, because OIT is going to trick you like anything with paraphrasing, because their skills are just too good for you. What they do is they take out information from the text and they completely turn out the idea, and they present the same idea in a very different way, in a very subtle way, that it is really difficult for students to understand. So okay, you might have already discussed this question in the classroom, so because of that reason we have already given the answer, the part where the answer comes from, in bold, so you could identify the answer in here. Nevertheless, care
As
should
we
be
are running
taken.
out of the time, we are just making it the points here, right?
Yes. So care should be taken to avoid the use of monitor within 7 meters of cell phones. So take important part of this, within 7 meters of cell phones to or other devices generating strong electrical or electromagnetic fields. So in the answers we had 3 options. First one is the blood pressure monitor is likely to interfere with the operation of the other medical equipments, and second one may not work correctly in close proximity to some other devices. So the right answer is B, as you might already understand. Because how does this answer come? It is really important to find that none of the points, none of the words used in the option is given in the text. Interestingly, right? So may not work correctly. So they don't use the word work directly, but instead they have used something else, because they say that care should be taken to avoid the use of monitor, right? Yeah, that is paraphrase. And next phrase is in close proximity. So what do you understand by close proximity? It is important for you to understand the meaning of proximity, which means nearness. Proximity means nearness. So within 7 meters. So just apply your practical knowledge. What is 7 meters? It's near, a nearness, or being close to something. So they have paraphrased the idea of within 7 meters to
electrical electromagnetic fields. So might be indicating about some other devices.
Some devices, for devices they have already
cell phones or other devices.
Other devices. So other devices. So other than that, they don't mention any single word that is given in the text in the option, and also they trick you with the very peculiar thing, which is in the first option you see that it is likely to interfere with the operation of other medical equipment. What they try to do is,
with this sentence they might get confusion.
Yes. So devices directly it is given, but so we can easily, not easily quite, but with some understanding we can identify that the second option should be the right one, because it's about the proximity, and which means you cannot use some other devices with the electromagnetic fields near to this kind of device, a blood pressure monitor. So and another trick that they do is they give some option with the same idea that is given in the text. For example, the first one, right? Interfere. The word interference is already given. So
it's already given in the same
paragraph. If you don't completely comprehend what you read, it is a possibility that you might find the mention of one word in a text, and it can trick you to choose an option where there is a direct mentioning of the word that you have read in the text. So which can lead you to answer with A, which can be a wrong one. So we
Yes.
have to be very alert about this. So we have to understand what strategies we have to keep. Let's remind ourselves with the strategies. First one is
Expect paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing.
You may not every time you won't get a simple sentence. You will have to expect for compound, complex, and different structure of paraphrasing can be expected in your reading part B and C especially. And you should be alert of tricking by using some words in option, like we said. The keywords, same keywords what you see in the options can be repeated in your paragraph too, but sometimes you will go after it. You won't end up with the correct answer. And sometimes you will have to look for the keywords and the connecting words. Here it is given nevertheless. So you have to look for the previous and the next sentence what is being given there. Sometimes they might give opposite of the previous one. So this might confuse you. So make sure that you read it thoroughly and you understand meaning of each sentence.
yes. So now let's go to the next kind of detective questions, which is lexical questions.
Yes.
Here also you don't have to think or guess, because the meaning can be almost in most cases so direct. So we have lexical questions in the same format. So let's have a look at the example here we have.
Yes, the scientists conducted an experiment to test the efficacy of the new drug in treating the disease. The results were promising, showing a significant reduction in symptoms among the participants. This breakthrough could potentially revolutionize the field of medicine and provide hope for countless patients.
Yes, so this is clearly a vocabulary question, and the question goes like, what does the word efficacy mean in the context of the passage? So what is the meaning? So we have to, if you have any doubt regarding the meaning, you can look up for the word efficacy and you will get the meaning. And but more than what we get in the meaning, we also have to check along with it its dictionary meaning and be able to apply this in the right context. So here we have some options here.
Yes, the possible answer choices are: first one safety, second one cost, and the third one is side effects, and the last one effectiveness.
Yes, so this is quite direct to say that
Yes.
efficacy takes a meaning, effectiveness more likely in this context, because this question is about, this passage is about a drug. So the efficacy of a drug is about, yeah, sometimes safety can be one of the aspects of its efficacy, and cost also can be a part of efficacy. But in the given context, the effectiveness, how well the drug
This
will
is the
take
right
effect,
answer here.
yes, how well the drug can take effect in a patient actually is being counted, for which we could say that efficacy can well mean to be effectiveness in the given context.
Yes, and when after getting in such questions, if you are doubting yourself whether this will be an answer or not, just put the same into your the particular sentence what you got, then at least you will be able to correlate with it. Here it is given the test, the effectiveness of the new drug in treating the disease. That goes more, that seems more apt with the sentence, right?
The given sentence, yes. So let's see an example that can be asked in a real OET scenario, which is here. So can we please go through the text here?
Yes, in OET students must be knowing the every time in your part C, either passage 1 or second passage will be having this kind of questions to find out the vocabulary or the synonym of it. So here you have one question. In the final paragraph, the word trademark refers to. So you can see in the paragraph trademark, and now we have to find out what does it mean in this particular paragraph. They may not be asking the exact meaning. Sometimes what does it mean in the particular paragraph with the description given, so that you have to find out.
Yeah, so in the given context, let's identify what the text is. So it's about ADHD drugs, and it replaces a trademark. Okay, so let's understand the text, which is, this is because the body stops producing the appropriate levels of neurotransmitters that ADHD drugs replace a trademark of addictive substances. So here in this context, we need to identify the meaning of trademark. So we have the given options as: first one, a physiological reaction; a substitute medication, a need for research, and a common request.
Yeah.
So, okay, how do we come to the right answer? So let's go to the meaning of trademark here. Okay, so we have taken out the meaning. The most popular, the most common kind of a strategy, the trick that OIT does to you regarding lexical questions is they
It
give
will be
you
having some other most familiar
more
meaning.
more popular meaning, right?
Yes.
So because this word trademark is more popular among people as a part of a short form TM, which is very common to be found in some products. Like, you know, you might understand that, okay, when some particular feature is a very exclusive part of a particular brand, then they call it a trademark.
Yes.
So just like that, okay, so popularly trademark is
A symbol or
a symbol.
word that is legally registered or established.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it is more common to be understood as the first meaning, but it also has a second meaning, a more figurative
Distinctive,
meaning,
yeah.
which is a distinctive characteristic or object. So you could use this word in people, like, you know, we could say that നമ്മൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയില്ലേ ബുദ്ധിയാണ് ഇയാളുടെ മെയിൻ എന്ന് പറയില്ലേ
I guess.
ബുദ്ധിയാണ് ഇവന്റെ മെയിൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെ ഇറ്റ്സ് ജസ്റ്റ് ലൈക്ക് എ ട്രേഡ് മാർക്ക്. സോ ഇന്റലിജൻസ് ഇസ് ഹിസ് ട്രേഡ് മാർക്ക്. ഓക്കെ, സോ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഇൻ ദിസ് കോണ്ടെക്സ്റ്റ് ദാറ്റ് വി ക്യാൻ യൂസ് ദ വേർഡ് ട്രേഡ് മാർക്ക്. സോ വി നീഡ് ടു അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് ദർ ക്യാൻ ബി സം ഫിഗറേറ്റീവ് മീനിങ് ഫോർ ദ ഗിവൻ ലെക്സിക്കൽ with the given word given, and then we have to apply this meaning with the given context.
Yes,
This is the most
you are
common.
picking it out the main prominent characteristic of from that object or
Yes.
from that thing.
Yes, so we have a distinctive characteristics of an object. So we have an example as well. The murder had all the trademarks of a mafia hit. Yeah, so it is most common things of a mafia hit was present in this instance of a murder. So we can take out this particular meaning to the given context of our passage, where, okay, now let's understand an exclusive feature or a distinctive feature or characteristics of an object. So in this case, a trademark of additive substance. So we can use the word a main feature, a remarkable feature of additive substance. So now let's see what can be a feature of an additive substance. So let's start from the last one. A common request. Can a common request be a feature? No, it doesn't match quite well, because the common request is not quite kind of an adjective. It does not quite give any kind of qualification.
Yes.
A need for research, it's also not kind of a feature of additive substances.
Here it is given like it's already proved.
It's already proved, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So a substitute medication, that's also not a feature of something, but a physiological reaction. That's more like a feature of a given drug of additive substances. So with a better understanding of the given word, maybe a different meaning other than the popular meaning can fit within the context. So what we have to do is we need to take out the more deeper meaning, maybe rather than just its lexical meaning. We have to go deeper into the figurative meaning of the word, and then apply the meaning with the given context and match with the other options, and
Yeah.
see which of these best suits with the given context. So here we have the answer as
There is
a
a physiological
a
reaction.
physiological reaction. So altogether you can see that the text is about how some of the drugs for ADHD can work almost similar to some additive substances, like the chemical drugs that are commonly popularly illegal in many countries. So the effect of ADHD drugs have the same feature of the other substances. So we can call the meaning of trademark to be a physiological reaction in the given context. So otherwise, if there's no reason why I would say, I mean, you cannot
Yes.
ever say that trademark means
When someone
a
asks you
physiological
what is the
reaction.
meaning of trademark, you cannot say a physiological reaction.
Exactly.
So in this context, this is the meaning.
Yeah, so there's always a different route to the answer in our context. So
Yes.
now let's come to the most important part in our session, which is
In inductive logic, in
Yeah.
OET reading, you have inferential questions. You must understand what is inferential question.
yes.
And before that, let's see an example here. What is been given, with this you will be able to understand. John has not slept for last 3 days. He doesn't come out. The room remains silent. He looks unhappy throughout the day. Inferential question is, to what assumption does the symptom lead? So here you have some assumptions like what might what might happen to him, what might be happening here. So what some certain symptoms it's been given. He is unhappy, he is sad, he is depressed, he remains silent, and he has no sleep, and he don't talk with others, he don't come out. And the possible answer choices given is he has headache. There is no connection or link between this. And the other B option, he is not interested to talk with everyone. There is a no word which correlates with this interest. And the third one is he is shy to talk. We didn't see anything such that he is shy to talk. All it looks like he looks unhappy throughout. And the fourth one is he is depressed. So now we understand what might be the answer here. So the
point is
details,
you can see that he does not talk. Okay, that part was given, but in no single line you did see the word depression. I mean, it was not explicitly mentioned in the given text, but it is up to us to identify that it is probably the most probable case in this option is the case that he is depressed. So this is how we come up with the inferences or using inductive logic. So inferences are not based on direct evidences. So this is the same kind of logic that nurses apply in their practical profession.
Yes.
Because whenever a patient comes to you and they show some symptoms of something, the very word symptom explicitly mentions that symptoms are not diagnosis, right?
Yes.
There's a very big difference between symptoms and diagnosis, because symptoms is something probable case. It does not indicate a very clear case, but it's simply an indication, simply a sign, but that does not completely,
that is leading to something.
Yes. But it's not an evidence, right?
Yes.
But to suppose a person has some kind of cancer and he shows some kind of symptoms, and you, with your experience, you see that this could be a possible case. So but it can only be confirmed if proper biopsy is taken and the tests are chemically done, and we have a proper detective understanding that there are cancerous cells in a person's body to identify and diagnose and confirm that he has cancer. So but still we make use of symptoms to take some best guesses in our practical and professional life. So we do just that in OIT reading as well. So this is where we start using our inductive logic in OIT reading. So
here you have the answer, he is depressed. Assuming all the points here, with one point you may not able to come to the answer. You will have to find out, you will have to read the surrounding information, what is being given to get your answer here.
Yes.
So moving to the next, in OET also we find similar text that might be very confusing. So let's read that. This is quite long paragraph, so let's move on to the question here. What do we learn about the experiment Kathy Hutchison took part in? So
okay, let's go through the rest very quickly. So it's about so it's a story of a patient whose name is Kathy Hutchinson. So what was the story of Kathy Hutchinson?
Yes, paralyzed from the neck down by stroke, and Kathy started fixedly at a drinking straw in a bottle on the table in front of her. This is the situation.
Yeah, she was paralyzed, right?
Yes.
She was paralyzed from the neck down by a stroke. She cannot move a thing, right?
Yes. A cable rose from the top of her head, connecting her to robot arm, but her gaze never wavered, and she mentally guided the robot arm. She mentally guided, which was opposite her, to close its grippers around the bottle, then slowly lift the vessel towards her mouth. Only when she finally managed to take a sip did her face relax. The example illustrates the strides being taken in a brain-controlled prosthetic. But Hutchison's focused stare also illustrates the one crucial feature is still missing from prosthetic. Her eyes could tell her where the arm was. But she could not feel what it was doing. Yeah,
actually these tests were taken from a contest where a brain controlled prosthetics, that is the kind of a topic that this is. So what happens is a person can control a machine without, a prosthetic part of the body can be controlled with the use of brain without actual neural connections. Real organic connections, but artificial ones. So this is the story about this. So we read the story of Kathy Hutchinson, and now let's read.
Yes.
What can you understand from this? What do we
What
learn
we
about
learn
the
about the experiment of the part?
Kathy Hutchinson was part of.
Option A, it is given it required intense concentration.
Yes.
B, it failed to achieve what it had set out to do.
Mhm.
C, it could be done more quickly given practice. D, it was the first time that it had been attempted. So we did not read that it was the first time that it was attempted.
You don't have it. Yep.
So from the answer option itself, you can eliminate some point when you find it very directly that it may not be the right answer. So this is not the one.
Yeah. So elimination is also possible, but the main purpose of this kind of a question is, for the last one we don't find it. It could be done more quickly, even practice. There's no mention of
more quickly. So that she should be provided with more practice.
Yeah,
that was not mentioned.
And it failed to achieve what it had set out to do. Okay, it is not clear because it is not given in the context. But when we go to the first one, it required intense concentration.
It did not say that it failed. She could attempt it, but something was not in her control.
Okay, something, which means she could not feel something while she was able to move things, and while she was able to touch things using her prosthetic arms or something. Still she couldn't feel it because it was only prosthetic one, and so it still kind of give you a sense that it failed to achieve what it had to set out to do. Okay, it could be a partially an answer, but we have a better answer. It required intense concentration.
So
do we have any mention of the word concentration?
No.
Do we? No. We don't have the mention of concentration here, but after reading all these things, it is something that we have to infer. We have to think inductively. We have to infer from the given text, which is that we have.
Are you talking about the guesswork here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Here we have to use the guessing skills here. So in the given text we have been given one thing, which is but her gaze never wavered. Gaze means a constant look at something, and wavering means changing or fluctuating. Okay,
hence she was able to manage mentally, she was able to guide, but she was not able to reach the thing as normally what we can do.
But most importantly, she did not move. She was so constant, she was just focused.
Yes.
When her eyes did not move away from something, which means she was focused.
She was focused, and it indicates that focus, another meaning, concentration.
Yes. So it is from this idea that we can infer that it was about concentration. And again, there's another mention where it says that
focused.
She was focused. There also illustrates the one crucial feature is still missing from prosthetics. Okay, this is the last part, but we have to take out this part where she says her focus also was present there. So the whole text is about how focused she was, which can give you the kind of inference that this kind of experiment required intense concentration. So in no part of the text it is given that it required concentration directly, but indirectly and implicitly we can find out that this kind of an experiment requires a certain level of concentration with given the activities that Hutchinson was a part of, which is that she didn't move her eyes out of a given object, and she focused on one thing for quite a long time. So which tells us that she was focused and the experiment required a certain level of concentration. So so we infer this kind of an answer from the given text, and we cannot find evidence for such a mention of concentration, but it is completely inferred out of the text.
Okay, there are some strategies that you can use for inferential questions here. From the given paragraph, from the example, we understand that you have to take a confident guess.
That's the most important part, right?
But you have certain things to prove, as sir said in the previous, that gaze wavered. Okay, it did, and she was focused. So with that you will have it, though you can guess, it does not mean that blindly you can answer any shade. No, it's not that. And second one is rule out options unrelated to the topic. So that's what we did. You can eliminate the points which you find which you are finding not useful here, that you can eliminate. And third one, compare options for their agreement to maximum information in the text. You will have to compare options. That's what we did in the beginning and the end. We almost got the similar one. So we will have to compare with the paragraph details, as well as the when you find details in the options, there also you will have to have a comparison with the question too. Then you will be finding the right answer.
And actually I wanted to point out one important word in this strategy, which is being confident, right? Because this is one part where, I mean, in speaking, yeah, we know we need to show certain level of confidence, but it is very unlikely that you might have found out that you need to be confident in reading, because it is easy to deduce an answer like 2 + 2 is 4. I mean, you don't need much confidence because this is a necessity. But in the case of induction, nothing worse but your confidence, because you might already be aware, okay, this could be a better probable. I mean, this particular option could be more of an answer in this context, but still you are waiting for an evidence, which shows a kind of lack of confidence, so which can only be improved through more and more practicing.
So and when they're confident enough to guess the answer, they won't be stuck over there. Definitely you can move to the next part very easily, and make sure that you are not stuck with any question. Don't take like more than 2 minutes for any question. And if you want, just skip the question if you are not able to find the answer. Then at the end you come back to the same which you left. There you will be able to do it. But after answering all question, you come to the question which you left. Another thing to remember in this part is to compare options for their agreement to maximum information in the text. Like when you have already gone through the ideas in the given text, if you have comprehended the ideas sufficiently, your guts will say which one of the options can be more probable in the given context. So the guts will tell you, your inside, your inner voice will tell you that this is the answer. But sometimes you may lack the confidence and you may distrust yourself, so that shouldn't be the case. You should trust your own thinking. You should be confident about yourself. You should trust yourself. You have to trust your inner voice. That's a difficult. So it can be done. I mean, this kind of a confidence can be gathered over more and more practicing. So that's just what we will do in our classes. Okay, so let's go to the next kind of question, which is the main idea question. Here you have to assess understanding of the central or most important idea conveyed in the passage, and you have to, it requires the reader to identify the primary focus or purpose of the text. In short, you are supposed to understand the summary of the briefing. Absolutely. I mean, in most paragraph questions you will see what can you understand, what do you learn from this paragraph. So here you have to identify what a paragraph is, because that's one part that many students might just bypass. A paragraph is something that a group of sentences with a common theme or a common purpose. So I mean, in our childhood days, what we used to do was the teacher asked us to write things in paragraphs. What we simply did was just leave a line. Okay, that would simply make a paragraph, but that's not the case. That's not how we make paragraphs. Actually, in a proper writing, paragraphs are prepared with a proper intention, with a very focused intention. So you will find out that every single paragraph will have their own purpose. And every single information given in that paragraph will be based on that particular information, that particular focus. So that's the like that you cannot ignore any detail in it.
So the main idea questions actually requires you to understand what a paragraph is. So we will see a paragraph and we will analyze this question. So we have an example question which is about climate change. It's a main idea purpose question. What is the main idea of the paragraph? This question we have seen in OET too, like what the paragraph states, what the writer indicates in this paragraph. Such question you will be seeing in your OET reading, but in this, what is the main idea of the paragraph?
Let's quickly go through the question, which is
Climate change is a pressing global issue that requires immediate attention and action. Rising global temperature, melting ice caps and extreme weather events are clear indicators of the impact of human activities on the planet. The urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, transition to renewable energy sources and implement sustainable practices cannot be overstated. Addressing climate change is not only crucial for the well-being of a planet but also for the future of humanity. Here's the trick. Okay, the question comes as what is the main idea of the paragraph, and we have these options where all these answers look so obvious and so direct. And we'll see. The first one is
the possible answer choices, and the first one is the impact of climate change on the planet.
Very tempting one.
Yes, the impact of climate change. It is given there, so it will be confusing.
Yeah.
And the second one is the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
That also
the same word we had seen there.
Yeah.
And the C, the importance of renewable energy sources.
This also has a mention, right? There's a mention of renewable sources.
And the last one is the well-being of our planet and the future humanity.
Yes.
So there is a possibility.
Okay, so which one could be the right answer? Yeah, it is clearly given the last one becomes the right answer. Why it is the last one is the right answer? Because let us see how, okay, there is a mention. I mean, all these ideas have a mention in the text, like, you know, the urgent need and the change of climate and everything has a mention in the text. But let's see if we take the first one to be the main idea, the impact of climate change on the planet. So are there anything else other than the impact of climate change on the planet given in the text? Yes, a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So this cannot be a main point. A main point must be supported by every single idea given in the text. So the let's see, the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emission. See, it's a requirement of changing to renewable gases.
Yes.
So that is not the impact of climate change, right? It is not an impact. So future of humanity, that is also not an impact of climate change. So we cannot say that the impact of climate change on planet can be the main idea. There is only a mention of the thing which is the climate change, but it is not the main theme. Same goes with the second option as well, the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emission. So can we say that every single sentence in this given text is a supporting idea to the second point, the urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions? Climate change is the pressing global issue. So
they have given the same sentence there, but it does not mean that it is all about the paragraph.
So the mentioned ideas can be supporting ideas to a main point, because in the second option we cannot find it to be a main idea, because not every single sentence is a supportive sentence to the given text, because the second sentence, rising global temperature, melting ice caps and extreme weather events are clear indicators of the impact of human activities on the planet. So it says impact of human activities on the planet. So that does not require a change in the use of fuels or gas emissions. No. So it is something else. I mean, impacts of human activities is one thing, and requirement for reducing greenhouse gas emissions is another thing. So we cannot say that the second sentence is supportive to the second option. But that's the same case with the third option as well. Importance of renewable energy sources.
What goes well with the idea is the last one, the well-being of our planet and the future humanity.
The last one, right? The well-being of our planet. If you see that every single sentence in the given text is actually in a way supporting to the idea of the well-being of our planet and the future of humanity, right? So let's see if it is helping us in any way for the well-being of humanity. Yes, immediate attention and action. Why? Because for the well-being of well-being of humanity, right? Second one, melting ice caps, the extreme weather events are clear indicators that the impact of human activities. So it is requiring us to change the human activities, which means that it indicates that there needs to be a change for the well-being of human activities, well-being of humanity again. So the third idea of urgent need to reduce greenhouse gas emission, that is also for the well-being of humanity. And every single sentence in a way or other somehow supports the idea of well-being of humanity. So which means that the main idea for the text should be the last one, which is the well-being of our planet and the future of humanity. So
you have explained so well.
Hawaii, thank you. Okay, so now let's see one of the example for this kind of a question in
that we can see in OET. The purpose of this email is to the options are: report on a rise post-surgical complication, explain the background to change in the patient care, remind staff about procedure for administering drugs. When you get such question, you will have to read the entire paragraph. Like you can use skimming and scan method. So here it is given: an alert was issued on the safe use of opioids and hospitals. They reported the incident of respiratory depression among the post-surgical patient to an average 0.5. Thus, for every 5,000 surgical patients, 25 will experience respiratory depression. Failure to recognize respiratory depression and institute timely intervention can lead to cardiopulmonary arrest, resulting in brain injury or death. Retrospective multi-center study, 14,720 cardiopulmonary arrest cases showed that 44% were respiratory related and more than 35% occurred on the general care floor. It is recommended that post-operative patients now have continuous monitoring instead of spot checks of both oxygen and ventilation.
Yes, clearly in this case as well we see that there was a clear purpose. Okay, just like how we mentioned
Started
earlier.
with that in August, an alert was issued on the safe use of opioids in hospital. So there we know that after that, they must be telling about some details regarding that incident. Yes. And the option 8 is given: report on a rise in post-surgical complication. It's not only about the incident of respiratory depression among post-surgical patients. It just they have given data of an average 5%, and this was affected with this, and not the exact. And in paragraph in option B, you can see explain the background to a change in patient care. So there are some chances for it.
Yeah. So one thing how OIT can trick you with this kind of a question is with giving you an option with a direct mentioning of things, just like the first one, report on
post-surgical complication.
Yeah, there is a direct mention of the same. So this is really tempting. It will trick you. It will fool you into choosing the option of the first one. And same goes with the third one: remind the staff about procedures for administering drugs. Yeah, there is some mention, somewhat kind of a mention of
when we read the end paragraph, you can see instead of spot checks, both oxygenation and ventilation, all this, and cardiopulmonary. When you read so much of medical things, we assume that it might be related to the procedure or administering drugs, but it's nothing about.
Yeah, actually not true that, right? So actually the first sentence itself is giving us an idea that an alert was issued. So there was already an alert. And now that the authorities are trying to explain why such an alert was declared, so and then they are trying to give out the specifications of the situations that led to this kind of an alert, and that is the rest of the mentioning. So the rest of the ideas were somehow supporting to the main idea that there is a sensible and justifiable history or a reason why such an alert was to be
what
declared.
had happened after changing in the patient care.
So everything else becomes a supporting point rather than a main point.
We can say that it is therefore recommended that post-operative patients now have continuous monitoring. So that indicates the change, what they were and what they have to provide with. Okay, so from which you can assume that option B is the right answer here.
Yep. So that's been quite some time we are spending time regarding OIT reading and how we apply logic. So altogether I wish to conclude the idea that the most important part in OIT,
and also I wish to add one more thing, that many do not have any idea about what difference between fact and opinion. In C part we see most of the details in a way that writer stated that they confirm that, so you should understand what is fact and what is opinion.
Okay, I have a question for students, right? Okay, so in this kind of a thing, a question, a fact and an opinion, what kind of logic do we apply for a fact, and what kind of logic do we apply for an opinion? Can we simply guess for that?
Definitely. So I will give you. I'll
You can
give
write
you
down
some-
your answer. You can write down your answers
We'll
as a
read it,
comment.
okay?
You can
And,
simply point out, and we'll see how many
For
words for.
those who doesn't know what is fact and opinion, I'll just briefly explain. Facts are statements which are supported by evidence. These are proved content, and it is based on research. After a research, there is a fact in it. We say, sometimes we say that it is the fact, it is true, it is proved, then it is a statement of we can assume that it's a fact. When it comes to opinion, it is not something proved, it is one's choice, right? And opinions are views which may or may not be supported by evidence. It need not to have any research on this. It's a view. If I like one particular color, your perception, you will be liking some other color. So it is his opinion, an individual point of view on a topic, that is opinion. When it comes to passage, you can see data like this. The review confirms that the study found that scientists discovered that this found, discovered, confirmed, which means that they have proved something and they have find out something from which. So that is fact. When it comes to opinion, they claim that he believes that, he assumes that, the review suggests that it could be something. So there won't be any proper answer or fact in it, but still they believe like there can be a chance of it, there's some possibility. So that is opinion. So when you do part C, definitely you should understand what is the difference between fact and opinion based question. Definitely you will be asked with such.
Yeah. So now that we kind of understand what these things are regarding facts and opinions. So okay, please write down what kind of a logic that we apply for both facts and opinions, and you can mention these answers as the comments for the live session. And yeah, finally what we conclude with the understanding that we have today is more than just evidences. Sometimes evidences help us to understand the answers, but sometimes we may have to take not a blind guess but an educated guess. So the difference between a blind guess is that we simply do not use our brain in any sense. We simply make a blind guess without any proper understanding. But when we understand certain facts, understand certain information, and then we base on these information to make an educated guess based on the some facts, then you can call it an inductive thinking. So this kind of guessing is really important for OET reading. So it's all about understanding what is the probability of the validity of a guess. So over practice we can improve this, and you can be confident about taking a guess. You might sometimes feel a little afraid of giving an answer in such a way, because you might think there's no given evidence, so how do I trust myself? So I suggest you to believe in yourself. That's an all-time goal kind of dictum, right? Yeah. So believe in yourself when you guess, and just trust your guts, trust your instincts, and then try to give the best of your guess in this kind of questions. And always be very critical and be very aware of the ways OET can trick you. With
to guess
paraphrasing
correctly, you need to have thorough practice.
Yeah,
nothing can
obviously
be done other than that. So practice is necessary thing for your reading. So make sure that you practice till your exam date, and manage your time efficiently. For that, I can give you a small tip, like if you're having part A for 50 minutes, when you practice, limit the time of practicing by taking 12 minutes out of 15. You practice. Initially you might find difficult, but during the time of test it would be easy for you. So limit the time, but you should not be a clock watcher too. You should be aware of the time during the test, and don't make yourself panic or anxious just by seeing the time.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's a very useful tip
so
from your
once
side.
again, congratulations to all the students who made us proud with your result. We expect more from our students like this, and congratulations to all the trainers too. And
And-
regarding Japan, those are aspiring to work in Japan, you have got a greater opportunity. Please contact AJINORAH, and we have got some great news for you. We are the sending organization now officially, so you can come to us for if you are aspiring to move Japan. Thank you so much for watching us.
So thank you so much for the support of all of you, and all those who sent us highs and hi
Comments.
bye. Okay, and highs to everyone, and thank you for being a part of the live session, and thank you for attending, and thank you for the support of the trainers who helped me with my team, and we convey our
Regards to everyone.
regards to everyone, our technical team, Vipin and Jiren and everyone. Thank you so much. So I think it is time to wind up.
Yes.
So shall we?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So thank you so
and
much for watching us.
bye bye.